I started doing stand-up comedy in 1977, and pretty much the only thing I knew about it was that I was on stage trying to make people laugh. 1982, I moved to Los Angeles. I was working out the improvisation and the comedy store clubs. One night, we were at Cantor's Delicatessen on Fairfax in West Hollywood. And at the next table, I had noticed Morey Amsterdam. Now, to me, Morey Amsterdam was Buddy Sorrell, one of the stars of the Dick Van Dyke Show, a sitcom in the early 60s. Now, I was pretty buzzed, so I thought, let's go over and talk to Morey. So my friends and I go over to Morey's table. We said, hey, Morey, we're a bunch of comedians too. He goes, oh, yeah. I go, yeah, we work at the improvisation. He goes, oh, I go over there sometimes. I love that place. I love what you guys are doing. I said, yeah, well, we don't do what you do. You know, we don't tell jokes. We talk about real things in our lives. He goes, tell me one of these things you do. So I told him one of my jokes. He said, that was done by Ricky Craig Jr. in 1929. And pretty much every time we told him one of our jokes, he told us who did it and when. Well, we limped back to our table. Next night I went to the improv. I told Bud about my encounter with Morey Amsterdam. He took me over to the adult table. That was a big round table in the corner of the room. As young comics, you weren't allowed over there unless you were invited. At the table that night was Harvey Korman, Shelley Berman, a great comic himself, and Carl Reiner, who was the creator of the Dick Van Dyke Show. I tell them about my encounter with Morey Amsterdam. They started laughing. You ran into a buzzsaw. Morey wrote most of those jokes. He used to write for Will Rogers when he was 18 years old. He sold Milton Berle the same joke 5 times. They started telling their own stories about Morey. They forgot I was there. I thought maybe it was time I started learning about the business I was in. And 20 years later, I did.